Hi. I tried to fix one video. Somehow I renovated my office and then my desk became a YouTube yearbook. Welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, this video gives you a pretty good idea of the kind of creative escalation you can expect on this channel. This project started with my glitter video that almost broke me. Not in a emotionally dramatic movie kind of way, more in a very practical, why is everything blurry? Why is everything noisy? Why do I have to film this for the third time kind of way? And because my brain is apparently very helpful under pressure, I decided the obvious solution was to renovate my office. And once the room changed, it became very clear that my old white desk surface did not fit in here anymore. Also, it had a giant peeled paint spot right where my hands are. Because at some point, something damaged the paint. And then my ADHD fingers found it. And they did not stop. That spot is basically the size of a melon now. So yes, I needed a new desktop. And somehow that turned into this. A 2-meter long collaged desk surface made from my first real year on YouTube. So, what you are about to see in today's video is me making the ADHD version of a year in review list. I did not write it down neatly. I glued and painted it to my desk instead. Gel prints and glitter, fake bricks and butterflies, recipes and weird experiments, failed videos, favorite videos, and one very dramatic red thread running through the whole thing. I started uploading regularly in January 2025. For me, that was the real start of this channel. Before that, there were a few attempts, but this was the year where I actually came in with more structure, more knowledge, and a much clearer vision. And by the end of that year, I've made 29 videos. Some did well, some did not. Some I'm really proud of. Some I quietly pretend are part of the process, which is a very elegant way of saying maybe not my finest hour, but all of them are part of the story. So instead of making a normal recap, I made a desk. Because apparently I cannot just sit down and reflect. I need glue and paper and a furniture problem. And because the office now has this calm forest feeling, very cozy, very calm, very I might finally have my life together. I thought a dark wood desk would have made sense. I could just cover the old desk with furniture foil I already have. It would match the room, cover the damaged surface, and cost me basically nothing because it's already there. But when I actually saw it on the desk, I knew immediately, technically, yes, emotionally, no. No. It's not bad. It's just boring. And I do not want to sit at boring every day. And then I remembered the board I used downstairs in my studio. It started as a simple wooden surface for filming. But at some point I collaged the back of it with old papers, vintage ads, scribbles, gift wrap, random little treasures. And I love it. It became one of my favorite filming backgrounds. It shows up in my thumbnails. It feels like me. So I sat in my newly grown up office and thought, why am I trying so hard to be aesthetically adult? Why does my desk need to look like a respectable piece of furniture from a person who owns matching socks? Why not make it feel like my work, my channel, my hands, my chaos? Because, I really believe art does not only belong on walls, in frames, or behind glass. I want art in everyday life, on the table, under the coffee mug, under the keyboard, under the elbows, while I overthink a thumbnail for 3 hours. I wanted a surface I do not just look at. I wanted a surface I enjoy while using. So, I went into the basement, found another wooden board that was actually a better size, and decided, let's make a collage. And then, a little later, another thought showed up. Why not give it a meaning? And that's how I decided to make a desk out of a year. The first official video of this YouTube year was my playbook number 1, made from gel print leftovers. And this one was important. Not because it was perfect, but because it worked. It got views right from the beginning. And honestly, that helped me keep going. This was the moment where I thought, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe this channel is not just me throwing creative spaghetti at the internet and hoping one noodle sticks. For the desk, I used the same basic principle as in that video. Leftover prints, because the whole desk is built from scraps, test prints, failures, and little pieces that could have ended up in a drawer forever. Instead, they became the surface. And I also brought back some little shapes from the sketchbook cover. These donut-like forms that somehow keep showing up in my work. I do not know if they mean something. Maybe they are portals, maybe they are cells. Maybe I just really like circles with identity issues. The next part of the desk is full of early experiments. There was the bear painting with acrylic paint and rubbing alcohol. The video itself did not do amazingly well, but I still like it. And I really like the happy dancing bear that came out of it. I tried to recreate the technique directly on the desk, but it didn't look great. So I did the very sophisticated artist thing. I printed the bear on sticker paper and simply glued him onto the surface. Problem solved, bear saved. Then there were the stamp videos. Stamps on a roll, more stamping fun. Those videos were solid. Not life-changing, not call the museum material. But there were good, useful, playful videos. And for the desk, I used prints from those sessions. And I also used some of the actual stamping tools directly onto the surface. That is what I love about this desk. It is not just decorated with references. It was made with the same tools and ideas that made the videos. So, in a very literal way, the work came back onto the desk. Then I introduced you to my little universe with a moon-shaped acrylic pouring lamp. That was my first video with a tiny viral tendency. A homeopathic dose of viral. Like not enough to buy a house, not enough to buy a car, maybe enough to emotionally buy one very confident coffee. But it mattered, because it showed me that a video could travel further than expected. And even though I have not added a big visual reference from that video onto the desk yet, I keep thinking about adding LED light to the desk somehow. Then there was my studio tour. That video is doing pretty well over time. Maybe because studio tours are evergreen. People like to peek behind the curtain. I get it. I also like seeing where people make things. For the desk, I had a hard time with this one. In that video, I briefly showed my office with the old mountain wallpaper. And since I have removed that wallpaper, I saved the pieces. I glued 2 strips of it onto the desk. It's not the most spectacular detail, just a piece of an old room inside the new one. Not every video from this year is easy to celebrate. There are a few I'm not fully behind anymore. There was my creativity hack video, where I talked about how my best work often happens when I stop trying to make something pretty and allow it to be ugly first. I still believe in that idea very much, but the video itself does not feel quite right to me anymore, so I made it unlisted and
that's okay. Not everything needs to stay on the front shelf forever. For the desk, I used watercolor flowers and connected this with a little studio vlog about sorting watercolors. That vlog was honestly more a gap filler. It happens. Sometimes you make a video because you want to keep the rhythm, and later you look back and think, well, that was certainly uploaded. But even those videos taught me something. They taught me that consistency is good, but not at any cost. And that I made something is not always the same as I made something meaningful. A slightly annoying lesson. One video I still really like is the fake brick wall. It was short, practical, budget-friendly and to the point. And it still runs steadily, which I appreciate very much. For the desk, I recreated a small fake brick wall area with tissue paper. And I combined it with one of my favorite ideas from this year. The designer vessels made from leftover prints and, garbage bottles. That video did not do as well as I think it deserved. But in terms of message, it might be one of my strongest videos. Because it's not just about making pretty little vessels. It is about consumption. About using what we already have. About noticing when we want to buy something just to cover an inner itch. And about asking, do I really want this? Do I really need this? Or am I just trying to fill a tiny emotional shopping cart inside my soul? For the desk, I rebuilt the thumbnail in miniature. Tiny vessels, fake brick wall, a little shelf. And I love that section, because it feels like one of the core values of this channel. Make something from what you have. Not because you are not allowed to want nice things, but because creativity often starts exactly there, with leftovers, with scraps, with maybe this could still become something. In my Failing Forward video, I talked about me thinking I had life figured out, and then realizing, nope. I do not, and maybe I never will. In that video, I used footage of a sketchbook collage, and there was a butterfly in it. A very obvious symbol, yes. But sometimes obvious symbols are obvious for a reason. They work. Transformation, change. The weird middle stage where nothing makes sense yet. So I added butterflies all over the desk.
Because this year did feel like that. And then came the DIY gel plate video. The perfect DIY gel plate with only 4 ingredients and a recipe calculator. This was my 10th video and the most successful so far, by far. It got a lot of views, brought in subscribers and helped me reach monetization within the next 7 months. And I'm very grateful for that. I really am. But it also messed with my head a little, because for a few days everything exploded and then very suddenly everything crashed. I was left sitting there like, hello, how are you? Did we break up? Was it something I said? What did I do wrong? So yeah, that video gave me a huge push. And it also put me in a very specific corner, DIY gel plates. And a little later, even more specific, vegan DIY gel plates. Do I love this niche? Yes. Am I weirdly fascinated by it? Absolutely. Have I spent a questionable amount of time thinking about gelatin, glycerin, isopropyl alcohol, propylene glycol, agar, konjac and gums? Syneresis and weird other things that normal people do not discuss over breakfast? Also yes. But is that all I want this channel to be? No.
That is the tricky part. Don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful for the gel plate videos. But I also want room for more. More making, more stories, more reality, more life. Maybe I just don't fully know yet what this whole DIY gel plate thing is about. As I realized in my failing forward video, I don't know what I don't know, especially when the universe starts making plans behind my back. So for now, I'm trying to hold the vision and trust the process. For the desk, I wrote the recipe on a piece of my notebook paper and glued it directly onto the surface.
Because that recipe deserves a place here. It changed the channel, and later, when I made the safer version,
the one where my DIY gel plate basically went sober, I gave that update a place too. I crossed out the alcohol, added propylene glycol as an alternative, and turned the recipe into exactly what it became on the channel. Not a finished monument, but a living experiment.
And then there was the first print session on my freshly made DIY gelatin plate. Breaking the surface and the follow-up fixed it. They did surprisingly well-ish, but I do not love them. They feel a little empty to me. And I think that is interesting because sometimes the audience reacts better to something than I do. And sometimes I love something deeply. And the internet says,
No, thank you though.
So I left some videos almost empty on the desk. Because not every video needs a big symbol. Some of them are part of the year because they happened. And that's enough.
One of my least viewed videos is also one of my most honest ones. The Feeling Meh video. I made it when I was sad about the views crashing after the big gel plate moment. I was not in a great place. And the video shows me working on an old painting, trying to help it find a purpose, while I talk about what was going on. As I said, it did not get many views. But I still think it's a good video. Maybe not a successful one, but an honest one. And that matters to me. For the desk, I brought in some of the shapes and little orange seed-like marks from that painting. Because even though the video did not perform, the feeling belongs here. The ugly face belongs here. The disappointment belongs here. The I still made something belongs here. Especially that. Then came No Brayer, No Problem. The Gel Plate Avengers. 14 DIY alternatives to a real brayer. And I think this might be my favorite video of the year. Not because it has the highest views, it does not. But because it feels the most like me. It's useful but also ridiculous. I gave the tools names. I made them characters with superhero energy. And that is exactly the kind of thing I love. Because yes, I want the information to be helpful, but if I can make a lint roller sound like a dramatic hero entering battle, why would I not do that? For the desk, I made a stamp from this thumbnail. And because my brain is a highly professional production facility, I forgot to mirror the design before making the stamp. So the print came out reversed. And then I used it anyway, because this desk is not a museum piece. It's a record of what actually happened, including the little mistakes. In the mark-making video, I played with dots, blobs, tools and little ways to bring paint onto the gel plate. The video itself may have been too long and it did not get a huge amount of views, but the papers that came out of it were beautiful. And on one of those papers, I later discovered a little bird, which is honestly one of my favorite things about intuitive making. Sometimes you make marks and later the marks look back at you and say, "Hi, I live here now." And I knew I wanted this bird on the table. So I cut it out and placed it on a branch on the desk. And I added the note, "A bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is not in the branch, but in its own wings." Maybe a bit dramatic for a desk. But also, have you met me? It fits. Because this year has been about learning not to trust only one video, one algorithm moment, one branch, but to trust the wings, my own wings, the ability to keep making. There were also videos I think were genuinely useful, but they did not get the attention I hoped for. The acrylic paint test, for example. I think it's a good video. Informative, but still entertaining. That is the balance I like. My greeting cards video with the toner foil hack is another one. I love that hack. No laminator needed, just toner foil, a glue stick and a bit of please work. The cards were beautiful. The video did not really take off. For the desk, I used the foil hack to add some holographic glitter elements. Tiny, shiny memories of a video that deserved better. There is something funny about building a year on YouTube. You start to realize that views are not always the same as value. Sometimes the good video is quiet. Sometimes the useful one sleeps in a corner. Sometimes the video you almost did not upload keeps bringing people in for months. And sometimes the algorithm behaves like a raccoon with a spreadsheet. I still don't fully understand the algorithm, and I'm starting to think that might be mutual.
You cannot fully predict it. You can only keep making better work.
And then came the vegan DIY gel plate. First experiments, breakthrough gas comeback, Libby bean comeback, the final comeback. At this point, my channel had officially entered the kitchen chemistry but make it art era. I started testing agar, guar, LBG, xanthan, all these different ingredients and combinations, trying to make a vegan DIY gel plate that actually works. And honestly, I got hooked. It is such a specific topic, a niche inside a slightly sticky drawer. But I love the problem solving. I love that it is practical and experimental. And I love giving the recipes ridiculous names because otherwise everything becomes too serious. For the desk, I grouped these videos together. I made a stamp with my very own vegan logo and printed that onto the desk. In rainbow colors. Why rainbow? I don't know. Apparently, my subconscious had a meeting and did not invite me. And I also used some of the papers from the vegan gel plate test sessions with those typical test patterns. You know, the ones I made with a very sharp silicone tool. And finally, we come to the glitter video. The video that started this whole chain reaction. Technically, it was just supposed to be a sparkly experiment on the gel plate. But the footage fought me. The old footage was blurry. The new footage had problems. I filmed it again and again. And by the time I finally finished it, it carried so much frustration with it that I almost could not see the video clearly anymore. Which is a shame, because I actually think it's not a bad video. It's sparkly, it's useful, it has a point. For the desk, I used glitter papers from that project, because of course the glitter had to be here. It was a problem child, but also the spark. Without that video going wrong, I might not have renovated the office. And without the office makeover, I would not have had the desk problem. Without the desk problem, this collage surface would not exist. So yes, the glitter video was annoying, but it also pushed me into the next thing. At some point while making this desk, I realized this is not a normal review list. It is not chronological, it's not neat. It's more like my brain actually remembers the year. A butterfly here, a ripped out notebook page there, a fake brick wall, a bird, a bear. A vegan logo, some glitter, some scraps and papers I had almost forgotten.
And that feels more like me, because this year did not happen like a clean straight line either.
It was more like try something, learn something, panic briefly, make a video, get excited, lose confidence, make another video, accidentally enter a niche, question everything, glue something down. Very structured, obviously. So, the desk became the ADHD version of a year in review list. Some videos became big visual elements. Some are almost invisible. And now, let's address the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the red thread. It is not just here for decoration. The red thread started before this YouTube year started. Back in early 2024, I tried to start YouTube once before, in German, with no real plan. No real structure, no real understanding of what I was doing. I basically thought, I will paint, I will film it, I will talk a little, and the internet will understand. Very sweet, very optimistic, very doomed. Those videos are private now. But during one of them, I made this sketch. And in that sketch, this red thread appeared because there was this very loud thought. I need something that connects all the things in my life. It just doesn't make sense. There seems no red thread. I need direction, a structure, a reason why and how one thing leads to the next. I had pieces, I had emotions, I had ideas, I had paint, but I did not have the master plan. I lost the thread all the time. Looking back, my need for guidance is not all that surprising anymore. After all, I do not exactly belong to the linear kind. And honestly, I love that about my brain. I love the jumps, the connections, the strange ideas, the way one thought can suddenly open 12 tiny doors or portals. That chaos is part of my creativity and even part of my identity. But if I want to actually move forward, not just spin in beautiful circles, I also need some kind of thread. Not to tie me down, more like Ariadne's thread in the labyrinth. Because yes, my brain can be a magical maze full of ideas. But sometimes I would also like to find the exit before next Thursday. So when I made this desk, I brought the red thread in. It connects everything. The videos that worked, the videos that did not, the tiny wins, the low points, the glue, the glitter, the weird little ideas. And from now on, this thread sits right in front of me while I work on this channel. Very visible, very intentional, very much in my face. It reminds me that I do not have to become a perfect linear person. But I can borrow a little bit of the linear world, a plan, a timeline, a structure. A next step, not to kill the chaos, because I do believe chaos has a purpose. One of my favorite quotes is from Nietzsche. One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. And yes, I know, very dramatic, but also, yes. Because the chaos is not the enemy. The chaos is where the strange ideas come from, the unexpected connections, the little creative sparks, the dancing stars, if we want to be fancy for a second. But even a dancing star needs somewhere to land. And for me, that is what the red thread is about. Not control, not perfection, not forcing my brain into a straight line. Just enough structure to help the chaos become something real. And yes, there's also the obvious little YouTube layer. YouTube is red too. So a red thread running through a YouTube year? Subtle? No. Do I care? Also no. Because this time I was not just looking for a red thread anymore. I was building one. So now I have this desk. A working surface made from the year that got me here. Not perfect, not polished. Not the most aesthetically suitable. And I love it anyway, because it feels right. And maybe the biggest thing this desk gives me is proof. Proof that I'm not lazy. A part of me knows that. I go to work
4 days a week. I film, I edit, I create, I experiment. I develop recipes I never would have chosen on purpose. And not to forget, I'm a mother too. I do mom stuff. A lot of invisible mom stuff. But there's still this noisy little voice in my head that says, you are too slow, you are behind, you are not doing enough. And then I look at this desk and it becomes much harder to believe that voice. Because this is not an idea anymore. This is not a plan. This is proof. My house may be still chaotic. My life may still feel unfinished. But this surface says, I did things. I made things. I kept going. And you might probably know that YouTube gives you a silver play button when you reach 100,000 subscribers. And I'm not saying I would send it back. I'm not insane. But for now, this desk feels like the better plaque. Less shiny, but much more honest. Every scrap, every print, every little symbol on this surface says, you made something. You kept going. You are not lazy. And this video is not just about a desk makeover. It is not just content recycling. It is a way of saying this year mattered. And if you were here for any part of this year, thank you for watching, for commenting, asking questions, testing recipes, sharing your own experiments, or just quietly being here. I know I disappeared for a while. And I didn't want to come back with just one random, hi, I'm back. I wanted it more like... Okay. Well, I'm not quite there yet. Today it's more like... Welcome back! And now, this first year lives right here. Under my hands, under my keyboard, under my coffee. So the next question is, what will I make on top of it? Because I make stuff. See you in the next one. Oh, it's so good to be back. Missed you.